You're listening to Free Zone Radio.
If a podcast is written by an algorithm, voiced by a clone, and published without a human breath, what exactly are we listening to? For Free Zone Radio, I'm Jason Crockett, and this is With Honors Season 2. We're back from the Christmas hiatus and the January snow day breaks, and the mics are hot for more episodes of With Honors Season 2. This week in class, we're tackling social commentary. There's plenty of it to go around, and none of us are here to indoctrinate, but we are here for the grand purpose of thinking. Students need to think, really think, about the world they are growing to live and work in. It's here in our schools, at our work, in our group chats, behind every Google search, completely and totally ubiquitous. And it didn't overwhelm us by force or launch a military attack against us. Well, not yet. But it has completely inundated the world we live in. I mean, generative AI. This week, we're moving away from our study of Fahrenheit 451 and into our unit on Antigone. Both are legendary works. Both are social commentary. Both cautionary tales about the abuse of power, or the dangers of not remaining aware, and of not thinking carefully or speaking up about the world you live in. Both are meant to challenge our notions, not just the quiet people in class, but the out loud, I know everything already braggarts too. Bradbury's novel and Sophocles' play insist that same uncomfortable truth. When convenience replaces conscience, something essential erodes. Well, I've been thinking about that erosion a lot lately, especially as AI moves away from assisting creative work to quietly replacing it. I mean, the essays kids turn in, sure, but also how AI is writing scripts, cloning voices, and assembling podcasts that sound complete, but really they feel hollow. The writing, the teaching, the performing, the podcasting. These aren't just social outputs. They're processes, and the process matters more than the product. They demand struggle, revision, failure, and conversation. And while, yes, I do use AI all the time to brainstorm or to revise or to streamline, I still resist the idea that creation itself should be outsourced. The danger is not the tool. It's how easily we humans let it decide the work is finished before we've actually done it. Well, each day this week, class starts with a question about generative AI. It's not a tech demo, it's not tips and tricks, it's a provocative question about what they know or what they think they know. Yesterday led off with two. Are video games art? And is AI art? Today leads off with the question about this very medium. Are AI-generated podcasts legitimate? Are they legitimate creative works? Once again, we're taking the conversation to the people, hosting a live show in front of the entire class. Instead of spending 60 minutes lecturing at the kids, we're modeling this process, what human content creation should look like. My co-host is the guy who got our class into podcasting, one of my co-teachers here at school, Drew Haston. And by the end, we open the show up to the kids to ask their own questions or hit us with their comments. We're sitting in class today talking about the extension of the social commentary. Yesterday, we started off with the question, is AI art? And we discussed whether video games were art. Today, I want to talk about this mode of discourse. So often in high school, we have you write essays. We have you write responses. But you live in a world of digital content creators. everybody's a podcaster these days. Everybody's a podcaster, whether you're two broke teachers or whatever, everybody's a podcaster these days. But this is legitimate content creation too. This is discourse. And if it's going to be good content creation, I think you want to work at it. Are podcasts art? My bigger question for today is, what do you think about generative AI being used to create podcasts? I've known about podcasts for a while. This guy, my co-host, Drew Haston, really got our class into doing this last year. It really seemed like it's something that humans need to be in charge of creating, crafting, that this is a work. But we're living in a day and age where more and more and more generative AI is used to enhance, but also create and distribute these podcasts. So I want to talk about that today. As we do, same thing with yesterday. This is our Socratic circle. We're the inner circle talking for a while, and then I'm going to pitch it back to you, and you're going to talk to us and have to be responsible for reflecting on it. So keep those ideas flowing on your page. Drew Haston is a teacher here at White County High School, and he is pursuing his doctorate through which university?
The University of Memphis.
Oh yeah, what's their mascot?
The Tigers.
The Tigers.
Go Tigers.
What is your doctorate going to be in?
Journalism.
Focusing on?
Well, the program is digital media and journalism, so all things journalistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about generative AI in the classroom so far? Where are we in 2026?
In the class.
The good and the not great.
Crockett and I have talked about this a ton, and I know that we're going to talk about it today, obviously, but when you become a doctoral student, guys, you have to do research. You have to pick something, and you have to research it. And mine is going to be about generative AI in podcasting. Having said that, I am not completely anti-artificial intelligence. I think that it has its pros and its cons. I think to me right now, it's kind of like a new toy, and a lot of people are using it for cons instead of for pros. Does that make sense? In the classroom, I think that, we know there are kids who try to use AI all the time, right? Yeah.
Not in this room. Not in this room. Not in this room.
I don't know. It's such a gray area right now. I know that I told Crockett, I got my master's in education from Lipscomb, and it's a really great program for secondary teachers. And when AI really started becoming prevalent, I asked my advisor, Dr. Hasty, what was their policy on AI in the classroom, and she was like, we don't know what to do. We don't have one. And I think that that's kind of still the stance with most universities. Some are expelling kids, and some are, I don't know. I had it on my first, this semester I'm taking 3 classes, and this is the first semester that I have seen that, well, we call them LLMs, large language models, which is like ChatGPT, Gemini, what's that new one? Claude, is that right? Yeah. These large language models, these LLMs are admissible in class. I can use chat in class if I choose to.
You have to cite it that part of this work was created or enhanced through the use of generative AI.
I can't use it to generate my own material, but I can use it to edit. I can use it to help me research. I can use it to find information.
Which that's a weird area for me, the help me research. That's a weird area for me still too.
And we talked about that yesterday too. Yeah. I think that it's a useful tool if you're researching something and you're trying to get deep research, because it can gather a lot of sources for you, like deep searching that sometimes you maybe not have all the time in the world to do. But I will say this, whenever I do use it for that, I always make sure that it sends me the links. I always tell it to wherever you get your information on this research, I need the link, because ultimately I want to be the one that gets the information. Does that make sense? I just need chat to tell me where to go sometimes.
You were talking about using it for research, and I saw Aubrey over here like, oh, chat will research it for me. I could see her writing it down. Use chat. But I mean, I piggyback on that. I would absolutely caution you all. In the early days of using ChatGPT, there was a lawyer up north who used ChatGPT to write his brief for him, and it cited court cases as precedents. And then when they were delivering their materials to court, the other lawyer was like, I don't think that these cases are real. And so the judge turned it back to the lawyer and said, are these real? They had a recess where he could look it up. He went to ChatGPT and asked it again, are these sources real? And Chat said, yes, these are real. No, they weren't. So that person was disbarred and lost their license to practice law because they falsified information in their trial. Plagiarism is not just something you get smacked for in an English classroom. Like, plagiarism is theft. And in the university level, in your job, it can have serious consequences.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always tell it to send me the link that it got the information, because that way I can verify it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think just being a good student is going back and fact checking on your own. I think just being a good citizen is making sure that you're going to credible sources, and that you're making sure that the information you got is maybe being repeated somewhere else and things like that. Yeah. So
seriously, if somebody came up to me and said, did you hear what Hannah Rabchenya did last night? Did you hear she was at the ball game and she blah, 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 and said whatever. A lot of us are going to immediately just willingly suspend that sense of disbelief and just be like, oh, what did Hannah do? What did she do? Tell us more about it. But really what we should stop and hit the brakes is, wait a minute, does that sound like something Hannah would do? Do I trust my source? I don't know. Maybe we got this wrong. We should hesitate, but plenty of us just leap right into it. Well, the same danger's there for generative AI. Mm-hmm. Just because it produced something for you doesn't mean you should just throw yourself into it. As a journalism person, as a podcaster, as a content creator, what are we seeing now with generative AI in podcasting?
Well, podcasting's been around for a long time, I guess, for you guys. When the iPods first came out, it wasn't too many years after that a podcast started showing up. But podcasting in popularity as a medium hasn't really captured until, I would say, like 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. That's when podcasting really kind of took off. With AI starting to become more and more prevalent, what I've been seeing with the research that I've been doing is that right now people will call a podcast an AI podcast if the script is generated, right? If I go on to Chat or Gemini and I say, make me a script about this, and then I read it myself, well, people are considering that an artificially intelligent podcast. However, I use Acast to host my podcasts, and through my subscription, I have access to it used to be called Podcastle, but it's called Async now. And I could generate a script, I could plug it into Async, and Async has different voices that I can choose, and I can have an AI completely generated podcast. And also too, I noticed with a new thing that I've noticed there is voice cloning. That's starting to become really that's becoming very common now, is voice cloning. It can take my voice. If I uploaded a few of my podcasts into Async, it'll take my voice and clone my voice, and then basically I would not have to do any work then, right? There was an issue, I think around 2020, 2021, this guy was voice cloning Joe Rogan, and I can't remember the name of the podcast. He had called it the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. Like, I know Joe Rogan's is called Joe Rogan Experience, but it was like very similar to Joe Rogan's, but he had Joe Rogan saying the craziest stuff. Oh. He had voice cloned Joe Rogan and Drake, and I want to think Donald Trump, and I want to think I can't remember. There was someone else that was really famous at the time whenever he had done this. And they were like saying some really dangerous stuff on there. And finally, they were able to get that podcast stopped. But I'm trying to think of the name of the podcast. It's called like Shell Game or something like that. A guy was experimenting. He was a podcaster. He was experimenting, and he has a podcast that is completely voice cloned. His voice is cloned. He doesn't do any talking. And it's got 545 5-star reviews right now. It's
how many?
Like 545. That's it. It's straight 5 stars. He's not gotten anything less than a 5-star.
I'm going to tell you all right now, when you get your phones back, if you don't go to Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and give your show that you've had to create content for 5 stars, what are you even doing? Because you've got Bro Brogan out here mocking things, and he's got 540 some. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. So as far as podcasting goes, that's kind of where it's at right now. I think that the better that this technology gets, the more worrisome I think it is. Also, there was, I think if you listen to podcasts as much as I listen to podcasts, you've probably heard of Wondery. Mm-hmm. They produce a lot of podcasts. They had a basketball podcast, and they geotagged their podcast in New York, in the New York area. And they had a 5-minute segment after their basketball show with a guy named Stryker. And it was just about New York sports. And Stryker was completely AI generated. And they were really testing the waters to see if people would notice or react, because that was kind of going to be like their next move, is we're going to just start generating. Those of you, I know that a few of you in here are probably more media, and I know a few of you in here are with me in our journalism class, and some of you are probably thinking about doing that as a career. I think you should be concerned a little bit about that, because especially if you're like a sports person, because when new media comes out with like AI or podcasting or whatever, sports is always the very, very first thing that they go and test it with, because there's so much data. There's so much data, and that is so easy for AI to take and turn something into a story. So it is concerning, especially when they're testing it out and trying to see, what can we do here? Can we generate our own stuff? Do we even really need people to make money and all these things? So it's concerning.
Well, we watched a keynote address from Brandon Sanderson, fantasy author, acclaimed writer. Brandon Sanderson was talking about, is AI art? And he went through some of what are the things that really caution us about that? Number one, it has disastrous effects on the environment around us, that it consumes so much water, that it, does this. And he said, even if we had it environmentally neutral, I still would have problems with it. What about how it violates copyright? Because we've been feeding it all of these texts. We've been feeding it all of these images and everything without permissions. And he said, even if we had no copyright issues, I still would have the problem with it. That for him, it comes back to the creative aspect, the authentic creative work, that I care about what I'm creating, and I care about getting better at my craft. And he used some examples from his first novel, which he told us about, and then said, it was a piece of crap. It was terrible. It was my first novel. It was not good. And then here's my second one. And, I was trying to do this better, but it still had its flaws and failures. And then he said, it wasn't until this book that I finally became a writer, that this is where I thought, yes, this is my first good book. And then after that came Mistborn and Stormlight Archives and others. And he knows the flaws of those early works, and he knows, they're embarrassing, they're whatever. But I'm proud because that made me a better writer. We learn more from our failures. Chat, Claude, these other generative AI sources, he says, can keep improving their skill at things. They keep getting better at what they produce, but they don't care about what they've gained. They don't care about the experience. And for him, that's the soul of it, is that we as humans are creative creatures, and we care. You have voices, you have minds, you put a lot of effort into what you do. Sarah Kate plays basketball, and you care about getting better at basketball, right? How many hours a week do you think you practice basketball in season right now?
Well, like 12.
12 hours a week, in addition to any extra things that you have to do, travel over Christmas time, any other things that you have to do. 12 regular practice hours a week. Those 12 hours could have gone to anything. Imagine if those 12 hours were just sitting in front of a TV. Or imagine those 12 hours were spent every week writing new essays for Jason Crockett. Or whatever, right? We're not going to do that. But imagine that those 12 hours went toward whatever. If I am struggling to lose weight, which I am, if I'm struggling to lose weight, it cannot come from me suddenly showing up and lifting 5 or 6 times or lifting for 5 or 6 weeks and then being like, great, I'm done. No, it is never that spike of intensity. It is a little bit of consistency over and over and over. And you start off really bad, but at some point you get better, right? And at some point, hopefully you get really good. You're taking his journalism class, and he has bragged about students in that class that maybe you start off not knowing, what to do, but you get so good at what you are producing with things. Even if you hold it up to the work of others and are like, oh, I don't know, my work's not that good. Lies, because you have gotten better. Chat will never care about those things. One of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation today is the entire idea of having generative AI podcasts seems so antithetical to me. Like, what are we even doing here? I showed you all an AI art image right here, and you immediately took offense. You immediately started, that's the dumbest. We were doing an American Gods project, and I showed you AI images of what if we had Greek gods that looked like this. And you all were throwing rotten fruit at me left and right. You were like, this is the dumbest thing. Do you know how many bottles of water you've wasted? Like, blah, 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 blah. Your generation, your class, your cohort cares so much more than any previous class no previous class has ever called me out for that before. But you guys are starting to get tired of this AI slop. And yet you still have kids who use it. You still have kids who use it to create your classwork. You still have people who go to it looking up, how do I do whatever? Like we still use it a lot. So we're calling it out and yet defaulting to it. If we want to get better as writers, we got to practice writing. My question for you all that I want you to think about on paper while we talk about it, should AI be used to create these podcasts? Like, do you want to hear podcasts that were auto-generated with voice-cloned voices and that they run for 15, 45 minutes or whatever? Is that something you want to listen to?
Well, do you care?
And do you care?
Yeah. That's what my research is my dissertation is really going to be about is, do you as an audience care about if it's AI or not? And my brother will not listen to this podcast, so I can call him out. My brother is a huge fantasy football player. And I think that if there was an AI generated podcast that sounded real, and guys, AI is hardly ever 100% accurate. So I'm going to say that this podcast is 90% accurate. There could be 10% inaccuracies or maybe 15%. Okay. But if he got the information he needed, and if his fantasy football team was improving and he could brag about it in the group chat, then I don't think that he would care. Do y'all know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that I would care if my podcast was AI generated, but that's really, I think the big question too, to add on to that is, do you care if it's AI or not?
I absolutely do.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But this started for me back in August, because we had a department meeting, and one of our co-teachers told us about how a new source through Notebook LM was able to create podcasts. Can you walk us through that? Like, what was that whole thing about?
Well, have y'all played with Notebook LM? I feel like
have any of
you? It's another Google thing. So, what you do is what I can do is drop my slideshow into this file, and then I could maybe, like, if we did a short story over a certain skill set and my slideshow was over the skill set, I could pop that short story in there. and it's got an option to create a podcast, and it makes a 15-minute podcast. Or now you can create a video, which I'll claim guilt on that. I got assigned an assignment last week. The ice storm hit Memphis really hard, and so they canceled classes, but my professor for my quantitative research methods class, she still assigned an assignment without explaining it. And she sent the slideshow. She was like, watch this slideshow and then read through the slideshow. She didn't make a video. She said, read through the slideshow and then make this outline. Well, the problem with the slideshow is there were a lot of blanks in it where she would be like filling in the blank as she was teaching. Do you know what I'm saying? So I read through it like 3 times and I had no clue. So I dropped it into Notebook to see if it would help me out. And I guess it did. But it also, you can make a video now with those, which is really kind of crazy. But
it was being marketed, I feel like it was being marketed to our department as if you have students who are struggling, let's say with reading Project Hail Mary, and they're really not getting the plot, they're really falling behind, they're not getting anything, you could put a passage or whatever into Notebook LM, and it would create a voice cloned podcast and a script where the 2 hosts or the 1 host does a short podcast about the plot of that passage or about the structural elements. You're teaching metaphor, you're teaching symbolism, where it would produce a mini podcast about that. But it was all generative AI. It was all generative AI. There was no human element to it. Henry just put the passage in the thing, said, I'm teaching metaphor, symbolism, and characterization. Create a 2-person podcast, 1 male voice, 1 female voice, and and then it would come up with, hi, today we're talking about Project Hail Mary. This is a great novel, Tom, and it blah, blah, blah. And it sounds like 2 people. I know that your ears would be really good. You would detect and be like, oh, that's fake, that's AI. But it's 2 podcasters talking about the plot and the symbolism and the character. Is that something you as students would want? Lainey's already saying no. Is that something you would want? Is that something you would want available to you to just create things like that?
Well, also too, though, I think it's a little freaky because, you can detect that it's AI, but it sounds so realistic that it wouldn't bother you, I don't think. As far as like, is this a real person or not? It's not like the TikTok AI voice. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it sounds like real people talking. Like, they'll like stutter over their words sometimes and they'll talk over each other and be like, oh, excuse me. Stuff like that. It's really freaky. And I think it's important because honestly, in Knox County, I don't know if you saw this, there is a classroom now that is completely AI taught. AI voices, AI modules created by AI assignments, AI graded. Like everything is artificial intelligence. And I think that's going to be a push with the way that our nation's attitude is towards education right now. I think that's what is going to be pushed. And it's concerning. I think that AI I view my AI as like my assistant. Like if I need help understanding an assignment, I don't have it do it for me, but I might have it simplify the instructions. I don't have it do it for me, but I will have it like go through the slideshow maybe in a way that I put it through Notebook LM because I was hoping if I heard 2 people talk about it, that it would be like a lecture. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I was hoping for. But because there were things missing, it was kind of like a lot of missing information. Anyways, I would never use it to replace. I would never use it to do my stuff. It's taking away our human experience.
What do my students think? Do you think it's hypocritical of me or him if we use AI to create our stuff for our class?
Yes, 100%.
Really? Ainsley's over here. If I can't use it, you can't use it. We're in a standoff. But didn't I also tell you at the beginning of the semester, I think that there are legitimate uses for it and that I want you I didn't tell you that? I'm pretty sure I did. That I wanted you all to not just have the keys thrown to you and say, well, go drive a car. Like, I want you to know how to drive a car responsibly, but there are also things the car shouldn't do for you. It shouldn't, I don't know. It shouldn't do some things for you. You are human beings, and I'm just not ready to completely abdicate my humanity, my mind. Are you okay with school districts using AI classrooms like this?
But the problem is, I don't think that it matters if we want it or not. That's what's scary. I don't think it matters.
Sarah Kay just closed her eyes. In my heart, that's the exact way I felt when he told me about this. I just went, what are we even doing here? Like, what are we even doing here? What are we even doing? I used to feel like any teacher that could be replaced by a computer ought to be replaced by a computer. Because
don't say that, then I'll lose my job.
No. Because what are we even doing in the classroom if we're not, if Sanderson says, that this is about a creative experience, that this is about a craft, that this is about the handing over of experience, and this is a shared learning, whatever, a journey, that process matters more than the product matters, then what are we even doing here if I'm just going to cut costs and say, well, AI will teach them? What do you all think about edgenuity? You love edgenuity? No? Would you prefer this class to be more sit and get, where I give you edgenuity things to do and you... Because Sadie over here showed up and saw the podcast set up, and she was gushing. She said, I love days like this. And she didn't know I was right behind her. And she said, and then she saw me and she was like, And I said, why? Because it's sit and get, because you just get to sit and hear. And we were joking about it, but it's like, is this an interactive experience for you, Aubrey? Yes. I want this to be. I want the things you do in here to be things that you create and get better at. I want to brag on some of you. And just because I'm bragging on some of you doesn't mean I don't brag on all of you. I do. Lucas back there. How often does Lucas ever talk in my class? He's grinning about it now. How often does he talk? 1 to 10. -5. Lucas doesn't talk a lot in class. Lucas is brilliant. Lucas is absolutely brilliant. He's knocked it out of the park on some of the assignments I've given you all. And the one time my man came in to do a podcast last fall, Lucas has a voice that is like golden for these microphones. I just wanted to sit there and listen to the guy talk for a while. And not just because he's got a good tenor for it, but Lucas showed up with his guys, right? You all did that sports one. And I just thought, why are we not having more of these? Why are we not having more of these? I sat there and just kind of wanted to let Lucas come in and be like, oh, well, maybe this is the guy to come in and create stuff for with honors. I love getting to see you guys have your talent, your engagement. You may not love ELA, but I want you to get better at developing your voice and your mind. And I really don't think any of that's going to happen if we just let you point and click through an AI program and then move on with life. Because what are we even doing here? We're supposed to be creators. I really believe whatever your religious beliefs are, I don't care. You don't care about mine, whatever. But I really believe that we are meant to be creative beings, that we were supposed to create art. We were supposed to create music. We were supposed to create buildings. We're supposed to create. We are supposed to be creators. We're explorers. We are not supposed to just be sit and point and clickers. We're not. I worry about us rushing to the assumption that AI will do the heavy lifting for us, because that's where we make our money as people. That's where you grow as people. I love leg day, but I hate leg day just like anybody else. But if you don't add more weight, if you don't progressively overload, what are you even doing here? What are you even doing here?
It reminds me of, I love Wall-E. I think that it's like top 3 Disney movies of all time, maybe the best. I'm almost willing to say that. It reminds me of that scene though, where he makes it to the ship, and we see all these people, and they're lazy, and they don't do anything for themselves, and they float around in their little beds all day. But there's the one where the guy calls, and he's like, what do you want to do today? Do you want to go to the driving range? And they're like, oh, we did that yesterday. Well, they ended up going to the driving range, and they sit there on their little like screen while there's a robot hitting the golf balls for them. And I mean, that's what essentially, if that's what we can do with AI, is we can let it, we can go to the driving range, but we can let it hit the golf balls for us. And then what are we even doing? I don't know. I keep thinking about Crockett and I, for my podcast, we just interviewed Bill Landry, who for us is like, I don't know, who could we even compare it to? I don't even know.
Nowadays?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know who that would be for them.
Bill Landry had a TV show in Knoxville, and it was called the Heartland series, and it started in 1984 and it ended in 2009, 2010, 2,000 episodes. He's an East Tennessee legend. And for me and Crockett, it was a lot of our childhood. Crockett lived in East Tennessee, so you would watch Bill Landry on TV. My family would go to Gatlinburg like 4 times a year, and I knew I was there because Bill was on TV. It was like, oh yeah, I get to watch the Heartland series. And then I lived in Kingston for 2 years, and that's another story for another day. But anyways, how long did it take us to track down Bill Landry?
Oh, right.
It was 2 months to get his contact information. And you talk about researching the internet. We were scouring over that thing. If there were literal rocks on the internet, I have lifted those looking for Bill Landry's contact information. And then we finally got his contact information, and it took us 2 months to get the interview set up. Bill's not young anymore.
Yeah.
And we finally got to, he and I were calling each other back and forth, which that was kind of surreal. I've got Bill Landry's number in my phone. I'm going to show it to you guys. Anyways, hold on. There he is. Bill Landry right there. Does he? Anyways,
We should call him up during a class podcast. Just be like, hey,
he wouldn't answer. No, he would. I emailed him, and he was like, call me, which I was like, okay. And he gave me his number, and I would call him, and he wouldn't answer. And then he finally called me back after I called him like 3 times. And I've got a rowdy fifth block. And he called me in fifth block, and he was like, can you talk for just a second? And I was like, not right now, I can't. Can I call you back in an hour? And he said, yeah. Call me in an hour. Well, guess what? He didn't answer. I'd send him a text. I'd finally said, I've bothered Bill Landry, the legend Bill Landry, too much. Anyways, he called me Monday of the snow break last week, and he goes, let's interview tomorrow. Okay. So we interviewed him, and I mean, it was what it was.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm getting at. I was listening back to it yesterday on the way home, and I was listening to Bill talk about like stuff that was so cool. And that's when I told Crockett, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever that we got to talk to Bill Landry. It's recorded on the internet for us to go back and listen to for all time. And I don't know, it was just really cool. And that experience could have been taken away if I would just sit on my Async and say,
yes,
here's a book, and I read this book, and here are my points. Just voice clone that for me. That entire experience would have been taken away. Our friendship would not be as close if that was taken away. That's what I'm saying. Like the human experience, the gift of being able to like accomplish things can be diminished from that. And listen, guys, I was in your seats. I walked these halls. And if I was 16 and thought I could get out of doing an assignment through AI, you better believe that I would have been doing that. But now that I've gotten older, I realize the value in like hard work. I realize the value in accomplishing something of my own. Does that make sense?
It really does. The stories that he told us in that podcast were not all things that we had read in the books or seen on the Heartland series. There was even one where Drew was debating on whether Bill Landry actually liked trying turtle meat or not. Because he had on an episode, a guy cooked it up for him. He took a bite of it and he said, It was good.
Well, the camera zooms in on his face, and it looks like he's trying not to throw up. And he goes, I like it. That's pretty good.
But Drew was like, nah, I don't think that's true. And so he asked him, and he was like, listen, you go have anybody cook turtle, and you try it and call me up, and blah, blah, blah. But then we also talked about possum and how he ate possum. He's like, take the turtle any day. Possum's terrible, blah, blah. You're telling me that generative AI is going to come up with unique tidbits like that? It may be generative, but I really do not believe it's creative.
Well, also, we were trying to figure out if he had on a real mustache or not.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's done this one-man play. He did 2,000 of those shows of Einstein the Man. He written the play. I didn't know that until last week.
Right.
And when I talked to him on the phone, I said, hey, I just found out you did this play. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. The guy started talking like Albert Einstein to me on the phone. And I was like trying to hit record. And so he shows up on screen with a mustache. His hair's kind of up, and he's got glasses on. And I think he was trying to be Albert Einstein.
I think he was, too. You're not... We joke. You're not going to get that on an AI-generated podcast. You're not going to get the content, the award-winning content like that on something that Notebook LM came up with, right? That's really the human experience right there.
Even though I do think those AI videos of the dogs driving, they're pretty funny. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about. They're funny. I like the one where the little bulldog falls asleep. Have y'all seen that? And he hits a bump, and the coffee flies everywhere.
I think our algorithm's different because my AI video is of a woman opening her door to a dog on the doorstep, and the dog fire hydrant vomits at her or something like that. I don't know what that says about us and our algorithms, but.
I mean, that's pretty great. Like the playing the drums.
I think we as people, I think we as writers have cautioned ourselves so many times about the dangers of what we create. Frankenstein is a novel about the dangers of what we've created and not taking responsibility. You created something just because you could, and then it runs amok and kills people, and you're not taking responsibility for what you've created. Jurassic Park. A lot of these movies and books that we tell, Terminator, over and again. My youngest son, Atticus, has for years been very careful around the Alexa. He's been very polite around the Alexa. And he would be the only one in the house whenever he'd say, Alexa, go to YouTube. She'd be like, yeah, right. And he'd go, thank you. Like he was always so polite to it. And my wife brought it up, and I was like, it's because he doesn't want the robot masters to kill him whenever they take over. But how many times do we have to be telling these cautionary tales and then not actually follow through with it?
Well, they just read one in Fahrenheit.
Oh, and we just read one in Fahrenheit 451. That's social commentary. That's a cautionary tale. And yet we continue to live through that over and over and over.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. Fahrenheit 451. In Fahrenheit 451, it talks about how there's the Reader's Digest.
The Digest version of Hamlet.
Where it's like a minute long, right? And I got cracked up because after I had read Fahrenheit 451, I was on YouTube trying to find clips of these movies because I am not a movie guy. I don't like to sit down and watch movies. I would much rather sit down and read a book. And I'm not saying that to be like hoity-toity. I don't understand my mindset because I can't sit and watch a movie because my attention is like bouncing all over. I don't know. I think it's because I can just sit a book down. Anyways, there is an AI-generated 1 minute long review of Fahrenheit 451. And I was like, we're here. We've made it. Ray Bradbury looked at his hand, said, oh my God, I'm alive, and then predicted the future.
I'm looking at my students to see if any of them started nodding because that's the Fahrenheit that they watched.
It was really bad.
Now,
really bad.
Don't raise your hands to this. Don't raise your hands. I don't want to know. Just don't be that kid who's like, Crockett, I don't want to be honest with you. I don't want to lie to you. Lie to me. How many of you would have just done the digest version of Project Hail Mary? How many of you would have just done the digest version of Fahrenheit? Or how many of you did or would have gone to generative AI, whether it was Grammarly or whatever, to have it review, edit, create, brainstorm any of your research project or any of your summer reading or any of your American Gods project or whatever? Who among us is without sin? I'm just saying, you also come to class and you are very harsh to judge others openly who use the generative AI. And yet a lot of us sitting in this room have gone to click on it as well. I know that I use it to do administrative tasks for me, right? I use it a lot to do that. I have a unit that I want my seniors to do over Beowulf. I know I want them to accomplish this, this, and this. I know I want it to do these tasks. I don't know a great way to lay it out. So I do go to chat and say, help me plan out the next 4 to 5 days. It'll involve these tasks, these standards. I want it to use these materials, whatever. I don't want to abdicate my thinking to it, though, to where I go to chat and say, I need lessons for teaching Beowulf this week. Because what am I even doing here if I'm just passing along what chat gave me? It bothers you when you see other people do it and you want to crucify about it. It bothers me as a teacher when I have to sit in faculty meetings or professional development and I hear peers who say, you know, I love all things AI. Follow me for tips and tricks. Here are the coolest chat uses in your classroom. Here's what it can do for you. And then in the talk session, everybody's like, oh, yeah, well, I have it do this. I have it do this. And it's almost like they are bragging about how cool I am that it does my work for me.
Well, I mean, I've heard of teachers dropping y'all's essays in there and maybe not in this school, but in other schools, I've heard of teachers dropping y'all's essays in there. And it doesn't work.
No.
Say that. Yeah, it doesn't work.
How would you like, Sarah Kate, how would you like it if I let ChatGPT grade your essay on my rubric? I said, here's the essay, here's my rubric, score this. And then I give you the grade that Chat gave me.
I'd probably be a little offended.
Offended?
It's like kind of your job to grade it and then you just grade it.
Right. But kiddos, it was your job to write that research essay. And it was your job. Somebody goes, clock it. Are you not clocking that I'm standing on business, bro? I'm telling you, it was your job to read Project Hail Mary. It was your job to read Fahrenheit 451. It's your job to be keeping up with Socratic Circle ideas about what we're doing here today. You get mad at me, right, if I do something like that because it is offensive. I sat in on a professional development thing for the state. It's the TESA. It's the electronic thing for the state of Tennessee educators. And they were talking about the new wave of generative AI. What is AI? How teachers need to wrap their heads around it. What are we doing? What's the problem with it? They had engineers from Oak Ridge who had been involved in AI development who were talking about it. It was not a guy dressed up like Arnold or Albert Einstein. It was not. But this engineer, he explained it in a really simple way to me that a large language model is like a really, 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 really complex fill-in-the-blank program. If you start like that, it's a really complex fill-in-the-blank program. Zoe goes to it and says, create an image of a dog holding a Valentine. And in a split second of its processing power, the LLM goes through all that it can find on the internet to look for anything that might fill in the blank of dog, Valentine, holding, whatever. And it creates an aggregate image of all of those things together. It's done this so much in the years that we've had it now that it's gotten way better at it. But you and I both know sometimes it would fudge and it would give you an image with like 6 fingers on the hand, or maybe the eye would be skewed or something like that, because it's trying to come up with the best aggregate answer to that. There's no genie in the box who's like, ooh, let me think, dog, Valentine, it would look like, and then it creates art for you. I say this because the same thing applies if I give it an essay and I say, now here's my rubric, score that. There is no creative, interpretive thought on the basis of that generative AI. It is looking through fill-in-the-blank words, patterns, phrases, and everything, and it will drop them in and then respond. And frequently, generative AI gives false information, right? Like it either hallucinates or it gives false info. So if Summer, I put her essay in there and it said, yeah, this would rate a C on that rubric. And I just gave it to you Summer's going to have a problem with that if she comes to me and I'm generous enough and I say, yeah, I'll rescore it. And I go back to chat and say, rescore this. And this time it says, oh yeah, I see that. It's an A. Where was any of the evaluation, the assessment? Where was any of the process for this if all we're doing is just abdicating to some fill-in-the-blank large language model? Sarah Kate's right. It should be offensive. There should be no teacher giving you a grade based on what generative AI said. But also, I think the other half of that equation should be true. There should be no student giving me generative AI work and saying, that's what I've done, because you didn't do it.
Well, just like you guys can tell that this photo is AI, my juniors are reading my favorite book, The Landbreakers, and AI generated photos just to based off of that. I'll take descriptions from the book when they're describing the characters and pop them into chat or something, just to help them have an idea of like what we're like. The other day, our story's got a love triangle, and the protagonist picked his person, and I had it do Appalachia Bachelor, and it was the final rose, and it like created that. Just stuff like that. But immediately they're like, oh, that's AI. Well, we can tell when it's AI writing immediately. And I've kind of gotten to where I just kind of fly with it because I've not graded an AI essay yet that's passed my rubric. And sometimes I don't want to argue with the kid. One time I can remember like when it really started becoming prevalent, when kids were really testing it a few years ago. A kid AI'd his essay. You could tell he didn't write that way. I called him out on it. Mom got involved. The friend was like, oh, he wrote it. I watched him. I was like, well, you were supposed to be writing your essay. How did you watch your friend write his essay? It was just this whole thing. And so it's just kind of like, if you want the failing grade, here you go. It's a test grade. here's your fail grade. So
yeah. I have a problem with generative AI being used to create podcasts. I absolutely do. I also have a problem with generative AI being solely responsible for Billboard 100 hits, like Walk My Walk or whatever. Like I have a problem with that. I'm not saying that we can't use generative AI to enhance our work or to augment or assist or whatever. Sure. But what are we even doing as creators, as human beings, if we're just human nothings? If we're not doing anything about it, like what are we even here for? Yeah. I personally want to tune into podcasts like With Honors or A Dead Man's Books, which you can find on Spotify, you can find on Apple Podcasts, you can find on a lot of places. I want to tune into award-winning content because I like listening to the conversation and having reactions, which you're about to do. I want to hear from voices like you. I want to hear from minds that are actually talking about the experience and also pitching jokes at each other and everything. Who among you would like to first come up and talk today? Oh, good. So I get to just start picking people. This is fantastic. Anna, come on up.
Okay. So for teachers using AI to grade things, do you think there should be a punishment for that? Like there would be a punishment for a student? Like, well, in our school book, it says that like that's forbidden.
That's a really good question. I wonder if like every year we have to go through like a code of ethics training. Yeah. And I wonder if that would be placed in there like it's breaking ethics, like an ethical. I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, I feel like it goes into your pride as a teacher. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's what I don't know how to answer that question, to be honest with you, because I feel like they should be punished, but I feel like that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I just feel like that those who are in charge are so in favor of us heading in that direction that I feel like it'd almost be encouraged, to be honest with you. But I do feel like they should be punished, but I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one. Okay.
I think it's incredibly unethical, and if they're not in some way, I don't know. I almost feel like that's a near fireable offense. If you were asking Darth Vader here, I feel like that's a near fireable offense. Because what are you even doing in the classroom if you're not doing the job that I hired you to do? What am I paying you for if you're not doing the job that I hired you to do? If Jason Crockett is just sitting back there and letting you all run wild, why am I even still in the building? Maybe that there should be a first offense for that, but after that point, no. I also feel like school districts should do a better job of being proactive about that and upfront asserting this is not only unethical, like it's just flat out wrong. Like it's just flat out wrong. And here are going to be the punishments. First time, it's you get written up for it. We're going to have a sit down with you, the principal and superintendent. After that, it is a fireable offense. Do not surrender what you do. But that's Darth Vader talking here. I'm real harsh about that.
It kind of reminds me of one of our friends. We would play like online football. I know this is going to sound stupid. Like an online dynasty thing. He wouldn't cheat, but the things that he did was extremely unethical. Like we couldn't be like, you can't do that because the game allowed him to do that. And then when we finally got to play again, we all created new PlayStation accounts so he wouldn't know that we were playing this game because we didn't want to play with him. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. Like it's very unethical. Like right now there are no rules that say you can't do it, but
this is also going to be me sounding really harsh and judgmental, but it's because you and I had talked about this before too, when you get jealous of situations, because some people get away with murder and you know that you never would be able to.
No.
And I know that there are teachers in this building, there are teachers in this district, in this country who do amazing work for you, who are golden. I mean, that they are here busting their backs for you. But we also know that we've all experienced teachers who are just slugs, that they're just drawing a paycheck. What are they even doing? And I have a problem with a school being okay with that being allowed to go. But that's me.
No, I'm with you.
Genuinely, it doesn't take much thinking to realize that AI is not the problem. It is people. They are allowing themselves to be consumed by a robot, and they are allowing their creativity to die because it's easier for them.
It's really easy. Sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but maybe that's how you get them to sing.
Why are we not at the podium?
Why are we not? We should have been at the podium over here. But yeah, I agree with that. I don't know. People are always just finding the shortest way to things. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Okay. I don't watch cable TV that much, but whenever I do, it seems that a lot of commercials I see are either using like generative AI or they're advertising it. Yeah. What do you think about that?
What do you think about all these commercials nowadays that are the dogs driving the car or the Santa Claus and lightning? And it says in a caption at the bottom, this commercial was made with generative AI.
Well, last Christmas, there was a huge scandal because Coca-Cola did a completely generated AI Christmas ad with humans in it. Mm-hmm. And people got up in arms about that because it's losing jobs, okay? Have you checked your attendance?
Oh, my God. Zoe, can you answer that for me? Be my secretary right now. Hello? I don't know him. I'm looking at him right now.
Okay.
Is it Carson? I like the Zoe handles things by just pointing at people. This is how I'm going to run the rest of my day. When that kid talks out in class, I'm just going to go and just stare at him. But anyway, yeah. Coca-Cola, Santa Claus commercial.
Coca-Cola AI generated last Christmas in 2024 this ad, and that's kind of what Coke's famous for, right? Their Christmas commercials, and people threw a fit. Coca-Cola apologized. Well, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it was back on the air this year. They just took the humans out of it. So, yeah, there you go.
But what do you think about that? Should we?
There's no. It's okay. I'll let her ask her question. I'm afraid I'll get on a rant. So.
Well, you said something about AI losing jobs.
Yes.
There is an entire store in the Atlanta airport that uses no cashiers. I went in there and there's cameras hanging from the ceiling. I think I sent a video to Trevor about it because I was like, what is going on right now? You scan your card as you walk in and then you go and pick out whatever you want. It finds what you bought and then it subtracts that from your balance in your bank account.
Have you been to the Wendy's in front of Food City?
No, I have not.
It's AI.
Really?
Yeah. I got so mad at it the other night. I told it, I was like, I am not going to be polite to you. I knew the people in there could hear me because I kept like asking for food and it would get it wrong. It made me so mad.
So what do you think about it?
I feel like it's like it losing jobs. Well, and then you said something about it. Honestly, I kind of think it's lazy, not to step on any toes, but like if you're gonna have it create your whole podcast script, like that's gonna sound so robotic because it's not natural, and I mean nobody's gonna want to listen to that.
You think?
You would think.
You would think.
I don't know. There's at least 540 people out there giving it 5 stars,
True.
or 540 bots.
Yeah, look at my
that are out there giving it
experiment.
5
Oh, and now he's laid back getting money. Okay, the jobs part that Summer
Yeah.
brought up. So, guys, those of you who are into journalism and sports journalism, in my review that I did. So you're going to hear a lot that AI generates jobs. That's what a lot of people say. And there is this, they said in this guy's research, he said that what the experts are saying is that 96 million jobs will be created from artificial intelligence. But then he said on the flip side of that, there are over 400 million jobs in journalism alone that will be displaced because of artificial intelligence. One of the examples that they gave was, when I wanted to be a journalist, I loved baseball. And I knew that I wasn't good enough to ever become pro, but I wanted to be involved with it somehow. And I thought, I love to write. What better way than to be a baseball journalist, right? And I would have been willing to have covered the lowest little league ever. But that's what they're using AI for now. USA Today right now is using large language models to take the statistics from minor league baseball games and generate an article for them, because like I said, it's data. So there's jobs right there that are being taken away, So yeah, guys, they're going to spin it and say, hey, look at all these jobs that AI is creating, but you're not looking on the flip side of that of who it's replacing.
With how schools want to seek the lowest common denominator, AI teaching would be awful. They would speak to you as students with the most patronizing and just almost dehumanizing tone possible, because they have to be precious little Jimmy here. You can't talk, rude to him. And they would just like kneel to him almost as a result. And I can't stand that. And I think honestly the teen suicide rate would go up. It would be awful. Don't do it.
What if you could tell your chat to be mean to you? Because you can do that.
I hate that chat wants to agree with me. I hate it because I'm like, nah, come on, you spineless weasel.
No, I told mine chat, I tell it every now and then. I'm like, just a reminder that you and I are not friends and I'm your boss. So.
I hate when I give it a prompt, like, create my schedule for me, and it gives me this is a great crucial part of your whatever. You're right for thinking this. I've noticed that if you end your prompt by telling ChatGPT, no yapping, it gets right to the point and just does that. So I have to tell mine often, no yapping. I don't want to hear it.
I had forgot
because I don't.
I had forgot that mine had asked me if I wanted it to refer to me as boss, and I was like, yeah, of course I do. And then the other day I asked it a question, and it was like, how's that, boss? And I was like, that's right. You need to remember that. I'm your boss.
You know how mine refers to me? Captain.
What's that guy's name? I'm trying to remember.
Otto, yeah, from Wall-E, the autopilot that drives the ship. Captain, that kind of thing. Oh, that's what it tells me. All right, anybody? Last call. Anybody want to say anything? Trevor, get up here. You're my last one, Bo.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First off, what do you think about, there have been some like ones that talk back to you that they're like artificially making them like cough and like sneeze during the just it talking. What do you think about that?
I don't like that.
And then secondly, what do you think? Do you think there is an AI bubble, and do you think it will pop?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Part of me feels like if we're in the AI bubble or if it's approaching, we're in it right now. But I don't know. It's a huge bubble. And I mean, that's what bubbles do. They burst, right? I mean, that's the natural process of things. Yeah. I do feel like there are going to be there's not going to be a complete collapse of AI and a rejection of it. at least not anytime soon. Although sci-fi teaches us in plenty of our stories that humanity surrenders itself to the robot masters and then leads a rebellion against those terminators.
How many articles have you seen where it's like humans will reach singularity within 6 months?
Oh, the singularity. Do you know about this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because originally Kurzweil said it would happen by 2045 and it already was happening in 2020. And so
I think that I've noticed that the fear with AI is kind of starting to go away, where we thought like, oh, it's going to take over. Like, as far as like, it's going to be our overlords.
Yeah.
I think the fear of that's kind of going away a little bit. I do think that people are starting to kind of reject it in a sense, as in like, I think people on an everyday basis are starting to reject it because we want something authentic. I think the corporations and above that are embracing it even more because it is more efficient for them. It makes more money for them.
I'm also,
You see what I'm saying? So,
this is such like the optimist and the pessimist. That's who this is. Because I'm also a creature that knows people are really good at adapting to whatever horrible circumstances we live in. Eva and I talked about this before, where it's like, what are people willing to just live with, even if it's horrible? And I look around at what you see on the news. I look around, in the last 20 years and how we are more and more and more willing to just put up with nightmares.
well, it goes back to what we were talking with Aubrey about with Howard Dean.
Right.
It's just like that got him to lose the election.
Right.
Yeah.
But nowadays,
that would
we
be
live
like,
in a
all right.
society where left and right, there's nightmares.
know.
And ChatGPT is willing to create a recipe for me, or create my podcast for me so that I can go back to scrolling. Yeah, come on up.
You should be scared.
Okay, what do you feel about people in power using AI to create things for like their platform and like especially like making videos and to like promote what they're doing?
I think it's dangerous. I think it's very dangerous.
It makes me want to pull an Oedipus where I just gouge my eyes out and just scream about the tragedy of our society.
I mean, I think that we as humans should have a standard that should be held.
You would think.
And I think it's dangerous. Yeah. I think it's dangerous.
And I do think that society changes. We accept things, whatever. I think that we used to have certain standards, and when those erode, break away, fracture, you're just left with a new kind of normal, and people are like, okay, well, I'm willing to accept that. In a very neutral sense, when gas prices used to be 98 cents a gallon, but then, gas prices went up to $1 something, and then they've gone up to whatever, and they keep jacking them up because the public's willing to pay for it. So what abuses, what AI abuses, what are people in power going to keep doing with their social media and stuff that we're just going to be okay with, and we just keep accepting it. At some point, that camel's back needs to break. At some point, that straw needs to snap.
So what y'all were just talking about kind of reminded me of when you guys were talking about the like completely AI generated podcasts. And immediately the only thing I wrote is, why would I want to hear a robot's opinion? Like podcasts are opinion pieces. Why would I want to hear a robot's opinion on something that they've never experienced? It's a robot. It's never experienced a real life situation, It's not a genuine opinion, so why would I ever want to listen to it?
Some podcasts are opinion. I think a lot of us probably listen to those, but some people listen to them for news and information. I mean, you think about, where do you guys get your news from? TikTok, right? Instagram, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
News Channel 5, twin.
There you
And
go.
TikTok.
Right.
Channel 5.
And it's, hey, I am not judging you guys for getting your news from TikTok because it's a medium that you guys use now. I would encourage you to double check your sources. But yeah, people get their news and information from a podcast as well. So
Yeah. Yep. Do you have a question? Oh, girl, get up here real quick.
One more question.
We got like 2 minutes.
oh, I should have wore that Viking hat this whole time.
So, you know how you were talking and you were like, if we give you the keys to AI, you just have to be responsible, But like, how can anyone be responsible with AI when it like prompts you to ask it more? It's like, do you want a more in-depth summary, or do you want me to give you text from the book and stuff? So like, is it just a genie that we can't put back in the bottle? Like,
In some regards, yes. But Sarah Kate, if you were my own daughter, I'd tell you the same thing, is that as a human being, I need you to know when to say no. What if a guy is telling you, hey, I want you to do this? At some point, you have to be boss enough to say, no, I don't. Like, you have to put that tiger back in the pen, right? At some point, you just got to be man up. I know, and it's tough when so many people in society aren't. We're struggling, and we're going to keep struggling with it. I know. You guys have been a great audience today. You make me happy. Everybody give him a hand, please.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With Honors is a Free Zone radio production, produced here in Sparta, Tennessee. You can find more of our shows here on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to great content. Check out our new show, Second Stage, premiering this season, as well as our brother podcast, A Dead Man's Books and Haston Curation.
Hey everyone, my name is Drew, and I want to talk to you about my show, A Dead Man's Books. The show was created with the mindset of whenever I pass away, as morbidly as that sounds, that my children would inherit my books. And of all the things that I'm going to pass down to them, I think that that's the one thing that I want them to make sure that they keep and go through on their own time. But I want to be there next to them whenever they read these things. And so I created a podcast so that they could go back and listen to me and my friends and other people as we read through these books and what we had to think about it. But it's grown to so much more. We've got authors we interview. We talk about everyday life. We talk about how literature connects to life. All of those things in one place. And now we want you to come along with us and join us. This is a podcast not just for my kids, but for everyone who loves to read, everyone who loves a good story, everyone who's a parent, everyone who's a teacher, everyone who just enjoys literature. This is a place to come. So come join us every Monday on A Dead Man's Books.